what I'd like to do is talk about the subject matter that we're all here today for, and that is rheumatoid arthritis. And I'd like to start by telling you about my mother, Joyce Sontag. So my mother was a fiery, vivacious, beautiful redhead. She was athletic, she was outgoing, she had a fantastic spirit and personality. I remember as a kid, all of us would always be amazed at all the stuff that she was into. She was into PTA, Cub Scouts, Sunday school, you name it. My mom was into it, into everything. So my mother was sort of an inspiration for us, and I'd just like to show you something that I brought along with me. So here, there's a picture of my mom. She's about 24 years old when that was shot. Alice, do you remember her? Alice over there was a good friend of my mom's when she was that age. I remember about many years ago, my mom was about 35 years old. She was decorating the Christmas tree. David, you probably remember this. She fell off the ladder from the Christmas tree decoration, fell into a Christmas ornament, cut her finger very badly. Finger bled a lot. Her hand hurt a lot. And over a period of time, the cut got better, but her hand did not. She had a lot of pain in her hand, and it hurt a lot more every time she tried to move it. Over a period of time, the same thing happened to her other hand. She developed the same kind of pain, and it hurt a lot when she tried to grasp like this. Well, it happened for over such a long period of time that my mom went to our doctor, Dr. Gollum, who's up here right off of Bellflower Boulevard, to find out what was going on and why she had this continual pain. Well, he did a lot of tests, and over a long period of time, tried to figure out what was happening to her, and then he came back with the diagnosis. My mom had rheumatoid arthritis. None of us in the family had any idea what rheumatoid arthritis was, but of course all of us had heard old guys saying, I got my arthritis, aches and pains, right? Which seems to be an ordinary part of life. So we didn't think an awful lot about it, and we didn't think it was such a big deal. Well, at first, she was given gold shots and took big handfuls of aspirin. I can remember literally almost swallowing a bottle of aspirin a day to combat the problem, to keep her out of pain. Well, over a period of time, that didn't work. She was getting worse. So they put her on cortisone, initially cortisone injections, and then cortisone medication. I think it was prednisone pills. You guys probably know what I'm talking about. And that was her course of treatment for a number of years. In fact, for most of the rest of her life, it was cortisone. When she got this treatment, her face swelled up, her legs swelled up, and from time to time she still had the same pain that she started with. Her mobility started to get worse, and over a long period of time the pain spread to almost every joint in her body. It got so bad that she had to have her hip joints replaced, finger joints replaced, a lot of her toe joints replaced, often those surgeries more than once. She had I think both hips replaced at least twice. And over a long period of time, her body started to get disfigured. Her hands became gnarled and shrunken, like this. She looked like the Wicked Witch of the West. She had her tongue swell up. She had some teeth start to fall out. She had a very difficult time talking. And over a period of time, she had trouble standing. She walked with a cane like a penguin when waddled down the road. And by the time my mom was 65 years old, my beautiful mother was a shrunken, disfigured gnome. Well, through all this stuff, my mom never once complained. You never heard her complain about her problem. It was her lot in life to deal with. It was her situation, it was her cross to bear, and she was always more concerned about other people than she was for herself. And she was an obvious positive inspiration for the whole family. Finally, in the spring of 1993, my mom's spine disintegrated. She became a bedridden quadriplegic. She could only speak. She couldn't move the rest of her limbs. And eventually she developed skin lesions, openings in her skin, and severe infections. That led to my mom being transferred to Long Beach Community Hospital. And in June of 1993, I got a call from my sister Carolyn and my brother-in-law Mark, and they said, you better get out here because Mom is not looking too good, and the situation doesn't look very good at all. So my brother and I hoofed it to Long Beach to be with her in the hospital. And when we arrived, my mom was propped up in bed in a sitting position. Her arms were out in front of her on metal braces. She was comatose, and she looked like some grotesque zombie. It was shocking. So even though she couldn't hear us, we at least hoped that she could hear us. All of us would try to say, Mom, don't worry about it. We're going to get you out of here. And we're going to get you out of this place. We're going to take you home. Well, we didn't need to because mercifully that early morning, June 3, 1993, God took my mother away. And I remember a few days later, we're all standing there looking at her casket down in that grave in Forest Lawn Cemetery. And I was thinking, that box holds the disfigured remains of my mom who lived this tortured, horrible life. And when we all walked away, we all thought about that life that my mom lived for all those years. And I went home after that and I said, you know what? If I ever get a chance to do something about this horrible disease, I'm going to do it. That's all there is to it. Well, I'll say from our side, from Susan and me, from our foundation, it has been one of the best relationships that we've had over the course of the last 11 years. It's a real pleasure to work with all of you, always has been, always is. Every phone call we get from Helene, we greet with enthusiasm, and I know that Helene and Kay Verbal, who runs our foundation, have formed a pretty close relationship. And so we've been doing this for about the last 11 years, and last summer, we were sitting and talking among ourselves. We said, you know, the ANRF always comes begging to us every year for a grant, and it's sort of like hat in hand. You know, are you guys going to do it again this year? Is it for real? You're really going to give a grant? Can we count on that so we can actually give an award to somebody? And as a result of that, we were sitting there one day and we said, you know what we ought to do is we ought to get some kind of a method so that they don't have to come begging to us. It's very pathetic to see Helene come begging to us every year. So let's find. So very effective. Okay? Helene has been very effective. We've never said no. Never said no. So we said, let's do this. Let's do something a lot more substantial so that they can count what they can do in the future related to rheumatoid arthritis. And as a result, we said, Susan and I said, let's do something more substantial. Let's give them $1 million, right? So Kay and I got on the phone, and Kay tried to get hold of Helene, and Helene was running around and typically exhausted from doing everything as the one-woman office. We got her on the phone, and we started to talk to Helene about this. We said, Helene, we think we want to do something a little different from what we've done in the past. Of course, I could hear her breath stop. And I said, what we want to do is we want to give you guys a grant of $1 million. The phone went dead silent for some period of time. I thought we'd lost her. I thought somebody ought to bring the cardiac unit in because Helene is gone. Then she started to speak and she started crying. And she said, Rick, I'm just a crier and that's all there is to it. And I can tell you those tears we could feel over the phone. It was fantastic. And it gave us the fantastic feeling that what we're doing is the absolute right thing. And as a result, Helene, Board of Directors of the ANRF, we are absolutely proud to present you guys a check for $1 million. And I told Helene, we're going to give you a big check for $1 million, a big check. So, Helene, There's your big check.